Ken and Frank, we got a great race coming up. I think I'm repeating myself in saying that throughout the day, but you look at this schedule and race after race is bettable, and here's a good example. Before we get to the All-Stakes Pick 4, this seventh race is a nice handicap, 7 furlongs for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and upward, and as we take a look at the odds, a lot of money has come for the 5, Our Betty Grable. Maybe it's because all the partnership is betting on it.
I think so. It's Fantasy Lane Stable. You remember that partnership? They're the partnership that owns Uptown Charlie Brown, the local hope in the Tampa Bay Derby, a little later on. But yeah, Our Betty Grable, 8-1 on the morning line, is getting bet down considerably. Now 5-2. A lot of play for Our Betty Grable and Danny Centeno and Alan Seewald.
12 minutes for all wagers, 12 minutes to get to TVG.com and play the 7th here at Tampa. But on the subject of Fantasy Lane Stable and their hopes, Uptown Charlie Brown later today in the Tampa Bay Derby. We have to explain away that effort in the Sam Davis last time.
We certainly do. Disappointing effort. The blinkers go on today for trainer Alan Seewald, a horse that was a little reluctant to switch leads late. I think greenness was the issue there. We'll see a little later on this afternoon how this horse performs.
Mike Joyce takes us into the world of Uptown Charlie Brown.
Uptown Charlie Brown has done a lot in a short time. In his debut on December 26th, he trounced a maiden special weight field by 9 lengths.
Uptown Charlie Brown, he'll score, easing up on the wire by 7.
3 weeks later, Uptown Charlie Brown romped again, this time in the Pasco Stakes.
Uptown Charlie Brown will score in a stakes, in front and going away. He might be the real deal.
In his third start, Charlie finished third behind Rule and Schoolyard Dreams in his 2-turn debut, the Sam F. Davis Stakes.
Rules in the Sam Davis. Schoolyard Dreams is second. Uptown Charlie Brown is up for third.
I was happy with the effort. Of course, we would have all loved for him to win, but he got out of it what I needed him to get out of it. He got a 2-turn race under his belt. He finished strong. He galloped out past the field. And I think the next time he runs, he's going to be a lot sharper.
That next time will be in the Tampa Bay Derby. Trainer Alan Seewald would prefer Uptown Charlie Brown was still unbeaten, that the race was 1 1/8 and not 1 1/16. But the most important thing, and what matters most to Seewald, is that his colt is happy and sound.
As long as you get out of a loss what you need to get out of it, then it works in your favor. It's nice to be 3 for 3 going into the Tampa Bay Derby, but I just couldn't. And I could have worked him fast and got him sharper for this race than I did, but I want him around for a while. I don't need those fast works now and pick the pieces up later on. It's more important that he gets sharp when the right races come up. This is just a small step going up the ladder of where he has to be later this year.
That right race for most this time of year is the Kentucky Derby, and Fantasy Lane Stable is no exception.
We'll look forward to running him back in the Tampa Bay Derby, and God willing, we'll make it to the first Saturday in May.
Fantasy Lane Stable's general manager Bob Hutt knows one thing you can count on. Whether it's on Facebook or at the track, in terms of sheer numbers, Uptown Charlie Brown supporters will be cheering in full force.
We have 59 partners in Uptown Charlie Brown, 250 partners overall in all the horses we have.
Seeing Uptown Charlie Brown taste defeat for the first time may have been a dose of reality for some, whereas Fantasy Lane Stable sees the realization that Derby dreams don't come easy. Yet at the same time, they're still feeling the exhilaration, knowing they're just one good performance away from continuing on the long and arduous march on the trail to the Kentucky Derby.
We kind of take everything one day at a time, and we like to relish the spot that we're in and the opportunity that we're in right now.
I think America has always been for the underdog, and that's kind of what we think we have here.
Do I want to get to the Derby? Sure, it's a dream. And if it does happen, I might pass out.
And there are a few of the members of Fantasy Lane Stable that have a horse here in the upcoming 7th race, Our Betty Grable. We just had a call for riders up. Daniel Centeno will be wearing their silks out to the racetrack here in race 7. And there's just 8 minutes to get to TVG.com and play the 7th. And that'll get Fantasy Lane Stable all that much closer to Uptown Charlie Brown in the Tampa Bay Derby. Our post parade begins with the one, Don't Talk to Me. I don't know how many of you remember this from the Keeneland Fall meet. Oh, this horse could have delivered at 41-1 from post position 14. Looked like this one had the Raven Run 1 and then stopped. Hasn't been so good since then. The 2 trainee last time out was outdistanced going a mile and a 16th, back to sprinting where she should be a lot better. The 3 Pay the Man would seem to get an ideal trip in here, and last time out was a neck behind our Betty Grable, who, as we said, is getting so much play in here. The 4 Secret Ken turning back from a mile and a 16th back to 7 furlongs. In Illinois bred, who has accomplished against Illinois Staked Spread Company. Here is the Fantasy Lane Stable representative, our Betty Grable. As we said, a neck winner over Pay the Man, and there's a lot of pace to line up in front of her here today, including Dr. Zick, who was the pace setter and the Hurricane Birdie last time out before fading badly, but prior to that had one of the fastest 7 furlong times on the main track of this meet in 1:22.4. The 7 Step Out Smartly, another one will benefit from the pass from the pace in here, and a ridiculous price at 17-1. Then there is the 8, a logical contender at 7-2, Rising Fever, who has been second 3 out of 5 starts here stateside, light in the winds. The 9 Congo Town is light in experience, just 2 starts coming in, thus one of our longest prices at 28-1. And finally, the 10 Moonshine Alice, going to be part of the pace from the outside for trainer Rick Dutrow. Uh-oh, Rutrow. How about uh-oh, Fantasy Lane Stable is in the house, Simon Bray.
That's right, Todd. A crowd of 10,000 on hand, 59 of them from Fantasy Lane Stables, headed up by Bob Hutt, the manager here, and trainer Alan Seewald. We'll talk about Uptown Charlie Brown and your chances a little later on in the Tampa Bay Derby, but we've got our Betty Grable coming up here, trying to get a win early on in the car. What are the chances here, first of all, with our Betty Grable? Alan coming off a nice win last time.
Well, it's a little bit tougher than her last start, but if the race sets up well, I think she'll make a run at him through the lane.
Okay, let's talk about Uptown Charlie Brown. I mean, it's a horse we followed closely on TVG here. We're putting the blinkers on today. I remember some of your comments after the last race. A little green, reluctant to switch leads. Was that the case? Has he trained in blinkers, and is he doing a little better with the blinkers on?
He's been training in blinkers since his last start. His 2 works were much better this time, and I think he'll be a lot sharper this race than he was last start.
Alan, thanks for your time. We'll let you go. Watch your horse warm up. I'm going to talk to all the fellas behind you here. This is Fantasy Lane Stable. Bob, just get a little insight about Fantasy Lane Stable, how it came to be, and the group that you've got behind you.
Well, we started in 1999, and the way it started was my father, who was a World War II veteran, lived through the Depression. I never knew until I was 35 that he liked thoroughbred racing. He was a $2 bettor in southern Florida. And one day I went down and he says, "How would you like to go to Calder?" And I said, "Dad, you got to be kidding. I've been going since I'm 16. And the next thing I knew, I bought one horse and met Alan, and I ran into Cal Hutt's stable. And every time I came down, I would take out all his friends, and we'd party, we'd go to restaurants, they would get the win photos, and they would keep asking me, "Bobby, when are you going to adopt me?" They were in their 80s, and I told them it was in the works. And subsequently, he unfortunately passed away in 1998. And Alan said, "Why don't you start something in your father's memory?" And I started Fantasy Lane Stable, never realizing how many...
It's 59, right? If I'm right, 59 individual partners in Uptime Charlie Brown.
In this particular partnership, we have 250, and altogether in our various partnerships, and I told him it's going to be very hard to win, so don't expect it right away. And I was proved a liar. We won with our first horse. Our second horse became a stake horse. And 5 years ago, we started with 2-year-olds. We buy 2, maybe 3 2-year-olds every season. We don't spend a lot of money, usually about $60,000. And we've been fortunate. We've had 4 stake horses in 4 consecutive seasons. And number 5 might be Joyce's Angel.
Well, best of luck to you. This is what horse racing is all about for you fans sitting at home. This is a great way to get in. They've got a big afternoon. And if you guys win the Tampa Bay Derby, you'll be cheering, right?
I think so. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Todd, Fantasy Lane Stables, it doesn't get any better than that.